Hello viewers, it's Super GT here. Welcome to another Forza Motorsport 7 video. So this is a guide for the assists in the game. So let's have a look very quickly. So what I'm going to do, I'll just go through all of them and explain what they do and which ones you would ideally want to be using. And I'll give you some demonstrations of each as well. So as a very quick explanation, suggested line. So a line will appear on the circuit and it can guide you where to brake and which racing line to take. Braking determines whether you have ABS on or off, which will determine how quickly you can brake, and the assisted will basically brake for you. Steering determines how the car feels when you're turning. Normal and simulation, there is a big difference between the two of them, and of course you can have assisted, so the car will steer for you, the game will do it for you. Traction control. This stops the wheels from spinning on the exit of corners, especially in high-powered cars. So just two settings on or off, but then you have super easy, where it really just totally takes off any wheel spin, so there's basically none at all. Stability control. So this basically stops the car from spinning out too much. So if the car senses that it's going to spin, it'll prevent it from doing that. So again, on or off, but then super easy, which is basically like on, but even stronger basically, so you really cannot spin out at all, because even with on you can still kind of spin out a little bit. Shifting is very important. Most of you will begin on automatic, so the gears will shift for you, you don't have to press anything. Manual, you just have to press one button to change up and down gear. Manual with clutch, you have to press two buttons, so that's the hardest setting. So damage, fuel and tyre wear. Cosmetic, so nothing will affect you at all, so if you crash into a wall, your car will just look a bit worse, but it won't perform any worse. Fuel and tyres, so your fuel level will go down as you race, so you'll use up fuel, and your tyres will degrade as well. So those two things only will be affected, but if you crash into a wall still, it won't do anything, you won't have any damage from that. But in simulation, all of those effects will take place. Your fuel amount will go down, your tyre wear will be there, and you'll get damage from hitting other cars, hitting the wall, hitting anything basically, or from downshifting too early. So if you're going 200 miles an hour and then you shift down to first gear, that will kill your engine, so don't do that. Rewind's quite a simple one, just on or off. So if you do something wrong, you just press a button and you go back a couple of seconds and then start again. Friction assist, this is a new one. This is very interesting actually. So basically what it does, if you turn it on, the grass or the surfaces off to the side of the track basically just have normal levels of grip. So it's almost like the grass sort of becomes the tarmac. You can just go flying off the track and you'll still have plenty of grip. I'll kind of give you a brief demonstration of all of these and a bit further explanation. So I've just gone into a race. Now it's fairly good in this game because you can just pause the game, go into assists, and you can change them as you race. First off, start with suggested line just to show you what it does. Now you can see there's a blue line on the track. So the AI going very slow there. Basically it shows you a suggested way of getting around the corner. Now in terms of the racing line, as in where the line is, it's not always dead correct, and I would actually suggest that if you want to be really quick, it's probably best not to religiously follow the line. But what is good is if we go back to assist, if you just go to braking only, so what you can see now, there isn't actually a line all the time. All it is, when you're going into the corners, it tells you when you should brake, so the line goes red when you should brake. And in Forza, it's normally very accurate, and it's actually a very good representation of where you should brake in each car. Turning that on is normally very beneficial, and a lot of the top drivers in the game do turn it on because it's quite difficult racing in a new car on each race not knowing exactly where you're braking. So that is a very useful tool, so don't be afraid to turn that on. So next up we'll just quickly go over ABS. ABS off is the quickest setting if you can learn how to do it. I'm going to make a guide eventually on how to drive with ABS off. It can be quite tricky to get used to. If we go to ABS on, I'll show you what happens. So as we come into this tight left hand here, I'm going to mash down the brake fully. Now that feels a lot slower than ABS off to me. So essentially they programmed the game so that if you brake with it on, ABS on, it just doesn't brake as quickly. It's not really true in real life, so you have to kind of get that out of your head. So the car will just simply brake in a shorter distance with ABS off. So if I turn it off, essentially all you have to do is brake with about 70% of brake application. So the best way to check that is to go to your telemetry, press down on the D-pad, and you can see on the right hand side at the bottom there's a brake percentage. And if you can see they're braking about 65%, that's a good percentage. But you can see, as we go down towards the hairpin, I'll deliberately put on 100%, and you can see what happens. So we're going to come down, I'm just going to put on, you see the brakes lock up. That is not good. You don't want that at all. So, it might seem strange getting used to ABS, but if you can brake with ABS off, about 70%, that's faster than braking with ABS on at all. But again, I'll make a full guide on how to drive with ABS off, because it can be tricky and it can take some getting used to. So the next assist I want to talk about is traction control. We'll come back to steering in just a moment. Traction control is fairly similar to braking actually, in that you have to have good management on the buttons here, or the triggers. If you don't have braking and throttle mapped to your triggers, I'll suggest you do that, because if you have it as a button you can't have any control, it's just 100% or 0%. At least with the trigger you can feather it on or off a little bit or a lot. So definitely put it onto a trigger if you don't already. Well, with traction control, essentially all you have to do, on the exit of corners, especially in very high powered cars, you just have to regulate the throttle. If you just put down the throttle 100%, the car will start sliding, especially if you're still turning. So we're going to come to Lime Rock. I'll show you a quick demonstration of traction control. And in a way it's fairly similar to ABS in that you have to be very delicate on the trigger. So you can see here, turned it off. So traction control off is faster, apart from in maybe a lot of the really faster cars. So like the Formula 1 car, you're probably going to want it on. But in a lot of the lower end production cars, like we've got here, BMW, or it's not a low end, but it's a production car, you're probably going to want it off, because that is faster. Okay, so let's go into the first corner. In a straight line, I'm okay. But it's when you're turning and accelerating at the same time, that's when it becomes bad. So you can see here, 100% throttle. Oh, the car wants to spin. And 100% throttle again. Car wants to spin. So the basic rule here with traction control off is that you only really want to wait until you're straight line and then floor it. I think a good way to think of it in your mind is, while you're going around a corner, wait for the car to settle, then keep on about 50%. Then when you're on the exit, when you're going in a straight line on the exit of the corner, then go 100%. Because while you're still turning, the car will want to spin if you've got a lot of power in the car. It does depend on the car. So a lot of cars don't have so much power and they won't really want to spin at all. Something like a BAC Mono probably wouldn't want to spin because it's a very low track toy car, probably wouldn't want to spin at all. But something like this, tons of power, it will want to spin, so you have to be very, very careful on the throttle. But again, I'm going to make a full guide for traction control eventually. So the rule is basically, while you're still turning, don't put on 100% throttle, just hold back a little bit on the throttle, wait till you're in a straight line, then feed it through eventually. So I'll give you a very quick demonstration of traction control in a very high powered car. What I would say is, a lot of the top drivers, or most of the top drivers, what they do, they'll just use whatever assist makes the car quickest. It's as simple as that. There's no point in making it hard for yourself, unless you want the challenge, of course. But if you're going to be racing online against tricky opponents, good level players, you're going to want to use the correct assist. It's very important. So let's have a look. So if I just mash down the throttle, how easily that car spins out, and how you're probably going to want to turn on traction control in this car, as I said. So let's just turn it on. Now as I pull away, I can just put the throttle down 100% and easily pull away without spinning. I can just mash down the throttle 100% and nothing. It doesn't want to spin at all. Now if you're really good, you probably can drive this car with traction control off quickly, but it's not easy at all. And you'll probably just be a lot quicker turning it on, and that does apply for a lot of these high-end cars. Not so much supercars, more just a lot of the race cars, especially the P class, X class, some R class. Okay, so I've come to Sonoma in the United States in the Ferrari F50 to show you the steering. So I mean, we have the assisted steering there. The game will steer for you a bit. I mean, you probably want to turn that off straight away, at least go to normal. So the difference between normal and simulation. Normal, I mean, there's not more to say. It just feels normal. Simulation though, what does it do? Basically, all it does, it makes the car turn in a lot quicker. So I'd say it's worth a couple of tenths per lap if you can get it right, especially in the lower class cars. It's a bit like traction control in that you only really want to use simulation in perhaps the lower end cars, but it is usable in the higher end class cars, but it doesn't have as much of an effect. So I'm going to drive away here with normal steering. So this is what most people would play in, the setting that most people would use. And I mean, it's hard to describe really, it's nothing to it, it just feels, it's kind of a neutral assist. It's not really an assist at all, it's just, the steering just feels the way it's meant to. But you can make it slightly tricky for yourself, but it will be quicker if we turn on the simulated steering. So basically the explanation that the game gives is that on normal the game sort of dampens certain effects, and it kind of basically dumbs down the steering a little bit. So with simulation you're getting really all of the control, and you can see here the car is a lot more twitchy, and I've just damaged the car, and that is what we know as sim twitch. So having simulation steering on, it lets you counter steer a lot quicker, so you can actually correct a steer a lot faster than you would in normal mode. That's one of the main benefits, and the fact basically you just turn in faster. You can change directions quicker, you turn in faster, and you can correct slides easier, or quicker should I say. Sometimes it's not easier, as you can just see just now I spun out quite easily. So those are the main benefits of simulated steering. It is a quite tricky one to get used to, but I'd say it's worth a couple of tenths per lap. Most of these assists are worth a couple of tenths per lap if you can get them right. So I'd say the biggest benefit of simulation steering is normally around direction changes, so like chicanes and things like that. You'd be able to just go from a left to right or right to left a lot faster than you would on normal steering. That's what I'd say is the biggest change, the biggest difference that you have to get used to. But the main thing you'll really have to combat is the sim twitch. It's the fact that if you correct the steer too quickly, you're going to spin out the other way and you start violently fishtailing. So that is something that you'll get used to with practice, and overall a couple of tenths faster. So something that you should learn if you really want to become top end gamer on this game. So next up we're going to talk about the stability control. With it on, the car will prevent itself from spinning by applying a brake to a specific wheel that it needs to do so. So the car is going to spin. Oh, let's put a brake on that wheel to stop the car from spinning. That's all it does. But what that does, it gives you less control of the car and it slows you down. It's applying a brake, whereas if you could just control the car a bit smoother and a bit nicer, you wouldn't have to do that. So if you had it off, that is the best setting overall. But having it on is good for beginner players. Ultimately you would want to practice with it off. So let's turn it on, I'll show you what it does. Now I've chosen this car specifically because this is a car where you absolutely would not want to have it on really. Traction control as well, you would not want to have it on in a Gymkhana car where you want to go sideways. Try and get the car to spin. But the car is just you might be able to see on the bottom right hand side, as I'm pressing the throttle, the little skid mark icon is flashing up. That means the car is stopping me from accelerating, and I can feel the car actually fighting me back. It's slowing me down quite a lot. As I'm accelerating, you see the feel the car bog down actually quite a lot. You might be able to just hear that. Like the engine's sort of almost being cut. The power's being cut as I'm trying to turn too much. Now you might think that's a good thing. Oh, you're going to spin, so you want to stop that, but ultimately you want to have it off because sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of oversteer, have a little bit of sideways action going. Sometimes it can help out. So I think out of all of the assists, stability management is one that you could probably turn off quite quickly and get away with it. It's not too difficult to drive without it. In a way it goes hand in hand with traction control because you just need to be very smooth on the throttle whilst turning. Just hold down the throttle 50% and wait until you're in a straight line before really gunning it, and you should be good on traction control and stability management. So next up we're going to have a look at the gears. So shifting, automatic, manual and manual with clutch. Automatic, the game will do it for you. So you can see here I won't press any buttons, I'm just pressing the throttle and the car's shifting for me. Now that is good for beginner players, but the main problem with that is that it shifts a lot of the time at a bad time. It shifts halfway through a corner when you don't want it to, and ultimately having manual gears, you just have far more control over the car. You can shift gear exactly when you want. You can choose which gear you want to be in through a corner, so you can get better drive on the exit, or to control the throttle and the oversteer. So manual gears is one of the most important assists because with the gear choice you can control a lot of the car. So let's put it on to manual. The difference really between manual and manual with clutch: manual just have to press one button and it goes up a gear or goes down a gear. Manual with clutch, you have to press the clutch in first and then press the gear up button or the gear down button. Now I can show you very quickly the configuration I use for the controller. So if you go to the options, then controller menu. Now I use layout 1 and then switch handbrake and clutch. Now what you can see there is that the clutch is A, shift up is B, and shift down is X. So essentially all you're doing there really is to go up a gear, pressing A and B at the same time. To go down a gear, you press A and X at the same time. So you're just hovering your thumb over two buttons basically. And it's not too tricky to do. The hard part of manual gears is the timing. When do you shift? Mainly it comes down to, I do it by sound. I don't look at the rev gauge. But if you want a really general rule of thumb, just near the red line, that's a very simple way of looking at it. I mean, it's not always the best way, but it's a quick way to learn it if you really want to. If you want to get into manual gears quickly, just listen out for that note in your headset or through the sound. And to begin with, you probably will be looking down at the rev gauge and thinking, oh, okay, we're at the red line, shift now. And for downshifting is fairly tricky as well. Downshift is probably harder to get used to actually, knowing how many gears to shift down. But what I'd say is, as you race a track, you'll learn eventually, okay, round that corner I need to be in second, round that one I need to be in fourth. So you'll know how many times you have to downshift. So there's a lot more thinking to do basically with manual gears. You need to constantly be thinking, which gear am I in and which gear do I need to be in at this corner coming up. So I'm in 6th gear, I need to be in 4th. Okay, downshift twice whilst you're braking. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring out a more lengthy guide for manual gears. So hopefully that'll be on the channel very soon, and that'll help you out even more. So this is just a general overlook of all the assists. So we've already gone through damage, fuel and tyre wear. I mean, that just changed. It's more like a setting, it's not really an assist. Rewind. Now, it's interesting this one, because I would actually say having it off is better, because you get into a more of a mindset that, oh, I can't crash, I need to be more careful because I can't go back and just do it again. I mean, life would be really easy if you could just go back 10 minutes and then start again. So I'd say, while it's good having it on, maybe try having it off, and you'll just learn to be a bit more patient and not take so many risks, especially if simulation damage is on. Now, the last assist I want to go to is friction assist. Now, this is new to the series. Essentially what it does with it on, oh, well, I'll show you what it does. Green. to demonstrate this. I mean, this was in the demo. Now essentially all it does is it makes the grass have exactly the same level of grip as the tarmac. It's quite a strange one. It does make it easier if you're a complete noob. As you can see here, just loads of grip. It's not sliding at all. The car just is not sliding. Now this assist is usable in single player. You can't use it in all of the multiplayer hoppers. I mean, that would just be stupid if you could do that. So even the gravel here, let's have a look. See, look, just easily flying over the gravel. It's not stopping me at all. Actually, that is stopping me a little bit. No, it's not really actually. So you can see here, just plenty of grip available. So that is what friction assist does. It just makes it easier if you go off the track. To be honest, just turn it off. I mean, if you want to race properly in this game, you might as well just turn that off. It's not really helping you too much. I mean, it does make it a little bit easier, but I'd recommend just turning that one off. There's a couple of assists that you can just do with turning off quite quickly. Now, the main recommendations I would have is that eventually you'd want to be driving with traction control off, ABS off, stability management off, simulation steering, manual with clutch, the friction assist off, and that's about it. Those are the assists you ideally want to be driving off. That's the end game really of Forza. You're probably somewhere between having all of them on and then having all of them off, as I just mentioned. So you're probably somewhere in between. Eventually you want to be getting to this end where you're having all of them off. You're able to drive comfortably with all of them off. That is probably the fastest way to play this game. So what I'm going to do is eventually bring out a guide for all of those assists, or as many of them as I can. The main ones: traction control, ABS, manual with clutch. What I would say though is, if you really want to get better at this game, just start practicing. Turn one of them off. Just go to a track on your own and just keep driving around and improve and improve and improve. Eventually, you just have to drum it into your mind. You'll get better at the game just by simply playing it with the assists off and just trying and trying and trying. Eventually, you'll get better. To begin with, you might feel, oh, I'm really bad, I'm really slow, this doesn't feel good at all, but you'll get there. But that's it, guys. I do hope you found this guide useful. I mean, do hit the like button if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you'd like to see more Forza Motorsport 7 content. I shall be back with plenty more guides and plenty more videos for this game. Road to 100% is well underway as well, so we're going to try to get everything we can in the game. That's the main overall objective. But I do hope you find this guide useful. Thank you very much for watching as always. I shall see you next time. Goodbye.
Listen.